Good afternoon. Thank you for attending our session on unified device management with Configuration Manager and Intune. I know it's the last session of the day, so everybody must be very tired. So we really appreciate you being here. I'm Nilesh Bide. I'm lead program manager on Windows Intune and Configuration Manager team. I own application lifecycle, updates, endpoint protection, and Windows Phone engagement. Been with Microsoft for last 10 years, working on management space for last 5. So really enjoy this topic and have a lot of passion around it. So would love to hear your feedback on our solutions that we are releasing shortly. With me, we have Dilip.
Hi, I'm Dilip Radhakrishnan. I'm a lead program manager on Config Manager and Intune team as well. Prior to this, I was PM on group policy in Windows, then on Intune team, and then last year and a half I've been on Config Manager team.
Okay, great. So how many of you attended the Windows Intune overview session right before this session? Okay, so there are almost 30% people here. So I'll start out by saying the key objective for this session is to give you a complete overview of mobile device management functionality of Config Manager 2012 R2 when we use it with Windows Intune service. We are going to cover device enrollment, company portal and application experience for end users, device inventory, settings management, and corporate data protection. The key takeaway that I want you guys to leave with today is Configuration Manager with Windows Intune offers UDM with a single pane of glass without having to deal with the pain of managing multiple products, consoles, and infrastructure. So with that, let's start this journey. Today's challenges in the enterprise are pretty clear, unless if some of you have been sitting in the cave for the last 5 years, you wouldn't experience this, but otherwise, users are really driving revolution in the enterprise today. They are coming up with their own devices. They want to be productive on their terms. They want to use their devices. This makes it difficult for IT admins to manage this explosion of devices. Previously, IT admins can just standardize set of devices that they used, on a certain PC configuration, and they could manage it completely and feel good about it. But today, that is not the case. There are lots of devices. On top of it, there are lots of applications. These applications are coming from multiple sources, multiple application stores. They are not really coming only from the company LOB app stores. So this creates a data explosion problem as well. Now the corporate data can live on these devices inside their apps and basically put corporate information at risk. So this is a very challenging environment, and how do we manage this is the key challenge that we are trying to address with our 2012 R2 release of Configuration Manager. From the people-centric IT perspective, most of you must have attended the keynote session and must have seen the demos, and there was a foundation session as well. How many of you attended the foundation session on people-centric IT? Quite a few of you. So you saw the message there. There are a lot of things that are coming together from Microsoft. We are aligning our release cadence to make sure that users, devices, apps, and data can be managed in a very cohesive way and have a seamless identity story and access story along with that. So the 3 things that we want to do is enable end user productivity. So IT Pro can be enabler in increasing the productivity of your enterprises. At the same time, IT Pro can get the benefit of unifying all these disparate environments. How many of you use a different mobile device management solution than PC management solution today? Yeah, most of you. And so it becomes very challenging to manage these different environments and different infrastructures. So Microsoft take on this is we can make it simple. We can unify the device management and so that your PCs and mobile devices could be managed through a single system. And the last but not the least, we can protect the data that goes onto these BYOD devices. So in order to do that, I'm just going to quickly recap what we saw in our last presentation. Windows Intune is a world-class cloud-based device management service with 3 nines of availability and security certification received from ISO. So we can protect this data, customer data in the cloud for enterprises. There are two main scenarios for Windows Intune. One is the enterprise scenario, which is very much relevant to this audience. This is where Windows Intune can be designed to fulfill the desktop admin roles functionality for managing mobile devices. So it can be an attached service to Configuration Manager. So today, Configuration Manager is there in 70% of big enterprise organizations. Windows Intune can be very easily connected to Configuration Manager installations, and then it can extend the Config Manager functionality to cover mobile device management. So the aim is to provide unified device management through Configuration Manager when you use Windows Intune in this fashion. This particular configuration can scale very well. It can manage up to 100,000 mobile devices when you join Intune to Config Manager. And administration experience is pretty seamless. It's the same SCCM admin console that IT admins can use to manage both PCs and devices. And Dilip is going to give you a run-through of unified device management functionality later in this presentation to show you how seamless this experience is versus using two different products for managing PCs and mobile devices and not really having a clue about what's happening from the compliance perspective inside your enterprise. There is a second use of Windows Intune. It could be tailored to small and medium business segment SKUs as well. In this case, it is designed for IT generalists, so that means they are going to fulfill multiple roles. They are not going to be a dedicated desktop admin in this case. This is a cloud-only unified device management solution. That means you can do the basics of PC management as well as mobile device management using cloud-only version of Windows Intune. You don't get all the bells and whistles that come with Windows Configuration Manager, and you don't get the flexibility of Configuration Manager instead. It's not really an extensible environment. We have streamlined or operationalized most of the management scenarios for small and medium business segment when Intune is used in this fashion. From the scale perspective also, since it's an experience for SMB, it is tailored for around 4,000 users to 7,000 devices. So this is going to meet the needs for SMB specifically. And the administration experience is a simple web-based console that you can access anywhere from the world. So with that said, let's look at the first configuration where you can use Intune to manage unified device management in enterprise. So this is the configuration. Let's look at it from your left to right. From IT perspective, they get single admin console. This is the single pane of glass. They can do the activities of management, application management, settings management, inventory, and continue to manage the PCs as well through the same console without leaving the comfort of their knowledge. From infrastructure perspective, Configuration Manager hooks up to Windows Intune using the Windows Intune connector, and Windows Intune connector basically gives the mobile device management functionality and feeds data into Configuration Manager. So to see the right-hand side of this diagram, you have traditional PCs, Mac OS, Linux, and Windows embedded devices. All of them could be still managed through traditional Configuration Manager on-prem. And in order to manage these mobile devices, which are mobile, they are not going to be on the CorpNet for long. They are going to be roaming around with the users. You can use the cloud service, which is Windows Intune, and the cloud will follow the users wherever they go. So that's the basic gist of using Windows Intune with Configuration Manager. So there are lots of MDM features that we are introducing as part of our 2012 R2 release of Configuration Manager. The first one is the over-the-air enrollment, so that users can enroll their own devices for management on their own without admin having to do any work for them. Then there is a self-service portal that we can provision for these users so that they can access their applications, they can access their machines from anywhere in the world, they can access IT contact information, they can wipe the devices that they own or they are associated with. Then you can do the user-targeted available app deployment. So today, Configuration Manager can push out applications to these devices. With this release of R2, and I think in SP1 also, we have provided an enterprise application store. because it is very difficult for IT to maintain links to all these different application stores and on top of it deploy applications, LOB applications to these devices. So IT can basically provision certain applications or recommend certain applications from millions of applications that exist in iTunes or Android or Windows Store, and so make it easy for end users to find those business applications to make them productive, as well as provide them with LOB applications in the single view. So that's the enterprise app store story that we are going to have. From the user device settings management, we have extended the configuration manager to provide device and settings management for multiple platforms like iOS, Android, on top of the Windows platform. So now you can comfortably manage all these devices, and I'm happy to note that we actually have added hundreds of settings for iOS and Android device management in this release that will complete the MDM story in this release. It is device inventory that we are going to provide, and we will have the construct of ownership for the devices. So if the end users bring their devices in, they are tagged as personal devices. So the inventory that you can collect from these devices is restricted by the set of rules and regulations. For instance, in the European Union, you would frown on collecting personal software installed on these personal devices. So using this flag, we can restrict ourselves to collect inventory of applications that IT admins deployed and ignore the rest. So there is a help that we can provide IT admins to collect the inventory. As well as if it is a corporate-owned device, they can get the full inventory for software and hardware as well. So you can do that. Dilip will show a demo of that. Remote device retirement is another feature. So a lot of times you lose devices from the end user perspective, or users leave the company and IT admin want to clear out corporate information from those devices. So you can provide that functionality in this release, and remote device wipe also can do the same here. So there is a platform support matrix in R2. There are a few notable changes marked here in orange red. So first thing that you will notice is now we are going to support Windows 8.1. It's a release that is going out and will be ready when it launches. So with the preview release of Windows 8.1, you can actually manage it through Configuration Manager right now with our R2 preview. So there is a story behind this. In Windows RT, Windows introduced an agent which was a lightweight management agent. It was called OMA-DM agent. It was based on it was open standard protocol for mobile device management. So Open Management Alliance device management protocol. This OMA-DM protocol gave a subset of management functionality so that the end user experience is not compromised. There is no running of login scripts or anything on those devices. You could only install software that is available to you from enterprise app stores. So that kind of functionality was available. At the same time, you could do some security settings management on that device. With Windows 8.1, they have opened up OMA-DM management for all the SKUs of Windows. So now Windows 8 Pro, Enterprise, Home, every SKU of Windows from now on will have that light management agent built into it. And with that, I think third-party MDM vendors also can benefit from this agent. So that's the support that has been added, and we are going to take benefit of that as well. So from the end user perspective on Windows 8.1 PC, if it is managed with a fully functional configuration manager client, you're going to get the software center and application catalog experience for application management. If it is going to be managed as a BYO PC, in that case, you're going to get experience of Windows company portal app, which I'm going to demo pretty soon. For Windows PC, the story hasn't changed. It's the same story. Windows RT also, the story hasn't changed. It's the same story with regards to SP1. iOS, there is a change. iOS, we only had mobile web portal to get your apps. But now with R2 release, we are going to have a fully functioning native iOS portal, self-help portal for you on iOS devices. So for iPad, I'm going to demo that. For Android, this is a big one. We are going to now enable native management support for Android. And we will talk about this also. For Mac and Linux platform, there is no change in this release with respect to SP1. So I want to clarify certain concepts here in detail. In foundation session, we talked about registration or workplace join versus turning on management or enrollment. So the scenario is when users register their BYO machine, an entry gets created in Active Directory. Let it be on-prem Active Directory or Azure Active Directory. What it does is it basically provides the functionality of multi-factor authentication and single sign-on for users, as well as you can specify conditional access policies. For instance, the device itself could be used as a second factor authentication. The scenario is you have some corporate information which is hosted on your corporate SharePoint site, and you want to access it from your BYO PC, from the internet. In that case, you can't access that information from any machine. IT admin wants to make sure that this information is confidential. It needs to be accessed only through the machine that you own. So in that, not from the kiosk PC somewhere, right? Because they are worried about keyloggers. So in that case, device could be used as a second factor of authentication. So when you register your device, they know, for instance, Dilip's device, I know Dilip is going to access that device, and that is used as a second factor of authentication. And IT admin can specify rules for SharePoint site using web app proxy saying, if the connection comes from registered device that I know about, I can have an audit trail for that device, give access to that SharePoint site. And then there is a concept of enrollment. This is about turning on management. This is the contract between IT admin and the end user. As a benefit of turning on management, IT admin can provide more functionality for end users to be productive. By more functionality, they can provide VPN profiles, Wi-Fi profiles, certificates needed to access the corporate resources, as well as applications that are provided by IT admin. So all this functionality can be provided the end user enrolls their devices for management. And we will see some demos and experiences around enrollment. So mobile device enrollment. So this is the first topic that I'm going to cover. There are a lot of AD sessions in this conference where you can learn more about conditional access and web app proxy role. So I would encourage you to attend those to understand registration. But I just wanted to clarify these two separate things. Registration means conditional access based on user, location, and basically intranet or extranet and device. And for enrollment, which is management functionality, it is about accessing applications, accessing VPN, Wi-Fi, and certificate profiles. So just keep that in mind, and then let's talk about enrollment. So why do we do enrollment? Enrollment is about establishing the mutual trust between the device itself and the management server so that we know the identity of the device, and then now we can manage that device. So as part of the enrollment workflow, it's a very secure process which is carried over SSL. Admin defines which users are authorized to enroll, because it's completely up to admins to say, only the sales guys can enroll because they are always on the road, but finance guys, they sit in the headquarters. I don't want that finance information to leak. They should be prohibited from enrolling their device. It's up to IT admin to define those policies based on the company policies. And once they configure the users for allowing access to enrollment, end users can go ahead and then use their license, Windows Intune license, to enroll up to 5 devices. These could be different devices, iPads, Androids, Surface RTs, Surface Pros. So from the support for enrollment perspective, you can see Windows RT, Windows Phone 8, iOS 5 Plus, all these platforms are supported for enrollment, and Android 2. New for R2 is the direct management of Android that I mentioned. So Android will be treated just like iOS device, and it will have a full set of management capabilities on Android devices. End result of enrollment is a user certificate is installed on that device to identify that device, and then configure that device with the corporate resource profiles. The Windows CE and all embedded platforms, these are all generally corporate managed platforms, and on-prem infrastructure is going to continue managing them in future with this release. There is no connection to Windows CE and embedded platforms to Windows Intune service. So with that, let's look at the enrollment experience on iPad. So I'll switch to 7. Okay. So I have a stock iPad here.
Can you switch back till I enter the password?
Since iPad will show my password to you while we are logging into the mobile portal, we are just going to take it off because, okay.
Oops. You want to type it again?
Yeah, I will type it. Okay.
We'll change the password.
We'll change the password afterwards. Okay, so right now we are trying to reach out to Windows Intune Service, and actually I'm going to quickly show you the profile that we pushed down. I will clear that out so that we can proceed with the enrollment.
Go and install the app. Maybe it will prompt you for the profile.
Yeah, let's do that. And I'll go to the mobile portal again and look at the Get Apps. Let's try this again, just one more time. To kill the cookies here. You go to m.manage.microsoft.com. This is our mobile web portal. For some reason, it's not prompting me for the enrollment. It's something to do with the cached credentials here.
Try to install it.
I'll try to install an application and see what happens. Can you change the device?
I'll get another
yeah.
iPad.
So while we are, I think we will switch our iPad and show it to you, but while we are doing that, I'll show you the experience for enrollment on Windows Phone 8 in the meantime. Please bear with me here. I think the demo guards are not happy. I need to sacrifice something for. Okay, this is 6. Let me switch on. So we are looking at Windows Phone 8 under Settings. There is a tab here for Company Apps. So I click on that tab and I say Add Account. I provide my email address. Contoso TechEd account. This account is created in Europe Data Center, since I'm going to access it from Europe. And I'm signing in, and it's going to prompt me for, tell me your server that you want to enroll with, and this is a long-winded server name right now, but I'll do my best here. This enterprise and enrollment. Let me know if I'm making any typos there so that we avoid this. Enterprise enrollment.manage. Microsoft.com. See, it's prompting me to check my Wi-Fi connection. Disconnected. Somehow, I'm just going to fire off a site quickly. Is it demo net available?
Yeah.
No, not on this. Okay, so this is working. So let me go back. To that screen again. Is this working again? Sorry guys, bear with me here for a second. We will get to this. Enterprise enrollment. Maybe I missed the -s there. Manage Microsoft.com. Now play. Let's see what's happening. So it's looking for my settings, which is a good sign. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So what it is trying to do is contact the Windows Intune service. It will try to get the profile for this account and the cert down onto this machine. And they have found it, and okay, I said account added. Do you want to install the company app or the hub as part of this process? I said yes, and I said done. And with that, if I scroll back and go to this view, right now it's downloading the company app on this device.
So while that's coming up, one thing I wanted to call out is if you have deployed your own solution, right, the Intune solution in your enterprise, you can set the DNS so that this can be auto-discovered so the users don't have to go and type in all this long stuff. The demo account that we are using is not set up with DNS for that auto-discovery.
Okay, so we see here the company portal has been pushed down to this device. It is available. I'm going to pin that to start menu. And push it up so that we can use it in our next demo.
Okay. So can you switch to the iPad? It's okay, just leave it.
Okay, so we have that there. I will switch back to my iPad. Okay. So in this case, I have an iPad with 7.
Oh, no. It's there.
Okay, it's there. So when I try to access my mobile web portal, it basically recognizes that my machine is not enrolled, so it's asking me to install. And now, in case of iPad, it will show you that I need to provide my management profile and install it onto this device. I select install now. The password here is forced here, so we have already set up a password on this iPad, so it's going to use that since it is a management operation that it is doing, needs administration rights. It is generating a key, enrolling a certificate, so you can see the whole workflow that goes behind enrolling the machine. As part of this, it's going to warn you, because from the end user perspective, they need to know what is going to happen on that device. That's a contract between your IT admin and the end user, and if once the end user says, I accept this contract, this particular iPad will be enrolled in the service. So it's enrolling the certificate, and now once this machine is provisioned, it can be recognized by the management service, and then it can track installation of applications and connection from this device so that it can enforce policies, collect inventory from this device. So profile is installed and it's done. So now it's asking me, after installation you can click here to get your apps. So it's basically going to direct me to the self-service portal that can give me access to applications on this device. So basically that completes the enrollment segment. So let's go back to the slides. Any questions on the enrollment so far? Yeah, it's a pretty easy process when don't have experience demo guard issues, but otherwise it's not a huge jump. It's just one link that you will get in an email. The end users can click on it and the whole process will begin. So it's very seamless compared to some of the competitor products. They need 8 or 9 steps to enroll your iPad or other device. So we have made sure that we basically simplify this experience for our end users.
Question?
Yeah.
The question was, is it a native app or is it only through that website link? So
we are still finalizing the details on how this is going to run iOS, but there is definitely a way of doing this through the web link. There is an app that you can download for doing this as well. So we are still in the working out those details as we speak. There are a lot of things that can go wrong as part of the enrollment. Since you are attending this session, I'm going to provide you tips so that all this process could be seamless for you guys. First thing that to note is you have to configure mobile device management. So as part of setting up Intune subscription, you need to say my management authority is SCCM. If you forget to do that, nothing else is going to work. The second thing is you have to enable support for that platform. So as part of Windows Intune subscription configuration, you need to support enable management of that platform. The third thing, once you enable the platform, you need to enable the user. That means user has to be part of the security of the collection that is synced with the Azure AD. If you don't do that, if the user still remains just on on-prem AD, the Windows Intune will not know about that user, and you won't get access to enrolling the device. Then for Windows Phone only, there are some platform-specific things that you have to do. You have to have a certificate from Symantec in order to enroll and install company portal. This is a requirement from Windows Phone team. And for trying this functionality out, we just released a tool that will give you access to some signed applications and sample cert. So we'll make it easy for you to try this out. But when you deploy Windows Phone 8 as a platform and manage it, you will have to purchase your own Symantec cert. For iOS also, you will need the Apple push notification certificate, and there is a workflow for that as part of Windows Intune subscription configuration. So once you do all these things, and our TAP customers also reinforce this, you need to double check and triple check. Once everything is set up, then everything works after that very smooth and seamless. So just something to keep in mind to make the enrollment seamless. So that brings us to the end user experience, and I'm going to demo some of these things. There are new native apps that we are going to provide for Windows, iOS, and Android platforms. The functionality from these native apps is about getting to the applications that are provisioned by IT admins and targeted to specific users, getting a list of devices that are enrolled by you or they belong to you based on user device affinity, and some information to contact IT. You can also remote into these devices, provided there are Windows devices. So there is a self-service functionality for end users so that they can be part of this partnership between IT admin and end user, so that IT admin can manage these different platforms. It's no longer just Windows, and scale to perform the management functions. So here I'm going to quickly demo
this one.
Yep. Quickly demo the self-service portal experience on 7. 7.
Did you hide the other one? So,
we'll have to switch to this one.
Yeah.
Actually.
Okay. I think this is the old portal. Did you?
No, this is the new one.
Sure.
So this is the app that you can download from iTunes Store. We are going to publish this pretty soon in iTunes Store. This is a self-service portal. As you can see, there is a list of devices that that are enrolled for a particular user. I'm looking at Paul's account here. So if I click on one of these, it will give you the options. Like you can factory reset this, or remove this machine, or change the device name from. In certain cases, if you are accessing a PC, you can get access to it from the remote desktop as well. There's a contact IT information below that can basically give you phone and branding information for your Contoso Corporation so that you can get a look and feel, a familiar look and feel for getting IT support as well as contact information. From applications perspective, it can basically launch you. I will go back here to, I think this iPad is having some trouble here. But basically, it will show you the portal for application. I can navigate it through Safari directly, actually, and see the applications that are deployed for me. So in this case, I can see there are different application categories available, and these are the applications that are targeted to me as a user. There are different types of applications. There are deep link applications, which are links to Apple Store, and there are side-loaded applications, which are line of business applications, which are developed by the company, and then you can push them down to these devices. So just as an example, Bing, you can see View App, it will launch iTunes and App Store, and you'll get the information for that. So when you are trying to make sense out of these millions of applications available in iTunes Store, you can give them 10 or 15 that are relevant for their for end users' day-to-day work. So that makes it easy from the end user perspective. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to my Surface Pro to show the experience on Surface Pro. We have a native application on Surface Pro. This is a Contoso app. You can see featured apps, and you can browse these applications by categories. There are different applications which are available or published to me, and the same experience for devices as well. So if I see the desktop, you can see the remote desktop option, because you can remote desktop from a Windows PC to another Windows PC. You can rename the machine or remove it from the management. Contact IT information is also pretty standard. So there is a consistent look and feel for self-service portal across different platforms, consistent set of functionality that is available, and you will do that for iOS as well as Android as well as Windows. So that basically brings us to the next segment.
Android?
And for Android, I can the work is not complete, but I can show you some preview of the experience through the magic of PowerPoint. So in this case, you can see a company portal app, which will be also downloaded from Google Play Store. You can click on it. It will launch. It will sign in. And you basically have to sign in using the org ID account, which is the account that you have synced up with your Azure AD. Once you do that, for instance, in this case, it's a contoso.com domain account. Sign in. You will get a complete list of things that can be done on your device. So it's a contract between IT and admin. So IT can erase all data or change screen lock password, set password, all this, all the 20 things that IT admin can do to your machine in the spirit of full disclosure. And then you can decide whether to go ahead with the enrollment or, cancel it out if you are paranoid about it. But in most cases, these things are not done on a daily basis. So most users are going to be okay, because they are going to get their favorite applications and access to corporate information. Once you accept that, you will set up the device with the same enrollment workflow that we saw on iPad, and basically implications of enrolling document and privacy policy also will be stored, and the device is added for the enrollment. So you will get your applications, you can see your devices, and contact IT information on Android. Okay, great. So let me go back to my other deck.
Close this.
So we just saw how the enrollment works and how IT admin can be productive, how IT admin can make the end users productive using the self-service portal experience. And then I'll pass on to Dilip to talk about the unified device management functionality from the IT Pro perspective.
Hi, thanks, Nilesh. I think we're going a little over time, so what I'm going to do in the interest of everybody leaving at a reasonable time today is going to try to spend more time on the demos, if possible, than on the slide. I'll quickly walk through the content. So when it comes to inventory, SCCM has a very strong inventory feature, Config Manager, and now you want to have the same experience with your mobile devices. So one of the things that we heard back from our customers who initially deployed our first version of our mobile solution was, hey, it's great I'm getting all these mobile devices into my system, but I want to have a better classification mechanism. So that's why we've introduced a new attribute called device ownership, which puts a personal versus corporate tag on it. By default, when the user enrolls, it's marked as personal. But then when the inventory happens and you see that you're also buying iPads or buying Surface tablets for your employees for use, then you can tag them as corporate, and IT Pro can go in and change the ownership anytime. And it also has interesting scenario impacts for app management that I'll show in the demo. So let's go into the demo. It's number 4. What's the number 1? So what you're looking at is the R2 version of Config Manager. The preview bits were announced and they're available for download, so you can go and try it. Because this feature works with PCs as well, not just for mobile devices. So go into Assets and Compliance. I'm going to go into the Devices node. So you see a whole bunch of devices. One of the things that we showed in one of the earlier demos was the fact that you can go just add this attribute called Device Owner, and that gives you, for those devices that have come in and registered, whether that ownership is personal or corporate. But let's go beyond what you saw in the other demo. So I'm going to create a device collection, call it personal devices. See, one useful purpose of this scenario is if you want to track, because end users are going to enroll these devices like Nilesh showed on their own, but you want to keep track of how many new personal devices are showing up in your environment so you can have better control over what's happening. So I can see that I'm going to create a personal device collection. And then I'll limit the collection to all systems. So next. So when you come to adding rules, you can have a dynamic query as well. For the demo, I'm just going to show you a static query where I show that in the attributes for system resources, I have a new attribute for device owner. So I'm going to go in here, so type int, and value 2 is personal. So I'm going to go in and say it automatically picked up all those personal resources. So I'm just showing it as a static query, but you can just go ahead and do this and set it up as a dynamic query as well. So I go ahead, close it. So what I've done now is I've created a collection of personal devices that are now available for me to check. And if I had made it a dynamic collection, then when I do the update collection group membership, it'll keep showing incrementally. And you can write your own custom reports on tracking how many personal devices have come in. And you can also integrate it with the device inventory features to say how many of those are iOS devices versus Windows devices, so you can get a much better sense of what kind of services you need to provide your users. So moving on to the other use for this is when you go into app management, you see the global conditions. There is again this feature called ownership, one for Windows, like on the PC side, and one for mobile. And basically, it's a string which you can use. So I'm going to actually go in and create an application. So it's an app package. So this is going to be a modern app, Windows modern app. I'm going to say TechEd. And then the app is here. So I have an expense app that he had. Whatever he showed the iOS version, I'm going to publish a Windows version of that app. So this is the My Expenses app. Let me go ahead and create it. So when I've created this DT for this expenses app, I can take a look at the deployment types for expenses. Didn't create. Let's see. I thought I created one. Let me check. Okay. So I'm going and selecting my folder where I have the demo app. So it was created as my expense copy, but it's somehow not refreshing here. So let me go out, come back. There it is. I have quite a few of my expenses now. So let's choose one of them that has the DT. There it is. So when I go in here and want to set properties on it, I can use conditional rule here. In the requirements rule, you're familiar with that. I have the OS requirement and other requirements. So again, I have on the device attribute, the ownership attribute. So I can go click here and then equals personal or company. So the place where you can use this is to say, okay, if I have a specific app that I have very limited licenses that I don't want end users to install it on their personal devices, then you can control it through this conditional rule that says that this app can be installed only on company-owned devices. So this will help you control. Again, as I said, this works for PC, not just for mobile devices. So if you have apps that you have very restricted license, you can start using this right away with R2. So moving on to my next demo. Settings. This session is focused more on the mobile settings. So I'm going to talk about the value that settings brings to mobile device management. When Exchange was first introduced, the Active Sync protocol, because there was no other mobile management protocol then. So the killer app for mobile phones is the email app. So when people want to access their email, you want to have at least basic settings and control over that. So that's why Exchange went ahead and did that. But then all the platform vendors realized the value of adding those kind of settings. I mean, Windows has it with like group policy all along, but Apple and Google, everybody has now exposed these through their own management protocol. So as and when they're adding new settings with every operating system release, we've been catching up with them. And in this release, I think we've really caught up with most of the iOS settings. And pretty much Android seems pretty limited in terms of settings compared to iOS. And Windows in the 8.1 again has a lot of new settings that we are adding support for. So some of the benefits that we are introducing with the settings management, if you're familiar with the DCM feature, the desired configuration management, is there's one template that we have for mobile devices. What we've done is done our research on each setting, tried it out in our labs, and made sure that the behavior is kind of what we expect on each, so you don't have to worry about how this works on iOS or Android. So we've kind of abstracted that knowledge into the settings template that we built. The other thing you have is now, even for these mobile devices, you can get very rich compliance reporting. You have in-console monitoring feature that you're used to for PCs. That works great now with mobile devices. You can see compliance, how many are not applicable, how many are in error state. And then last thing to note is now the policy can come from both the settings channel in MDM, or it can come from Exchange Active Sync. We actually recommend that you have some basic settings in Exchange Active Sync, because if a device has not gone through the enrollment process we talked about, it at least still gets some kind of coverage from a security perspective. So, but what happens when the Exchange admin sets one value and the config manager admin sets a different value? The platforms are built such that the more restrictive security setting wins. So if one says password should be 4, another says password is 5, the length will be 5 on that device. So I'm not going to go through every one of it, but I want to call out some key ones that we'll be showing in the demo right now. We talked about it in our previous sessions, but I want to actually go into the details of VPN, Wi-Fi, and certificates, and also show through a CI creation some of the new iOS-specific settings that we've added. So let me take a step before I do the demo to talk about the VPN settings. So the main feature with VPN profiles is we've been hearing this, like people are using scripts and other ways to actually deploy a VPN profile when they build a new PC. And it's even more complicated when you actually deploy it to mobile devices, because they're not built-in VPN. So for iOS and other platforms, you have to actually go and download the VPN bits from the Apple Store, or like if you use a Cisco AnyConnect or any other VPN solution, you have to download that VPN. So think of a user scenario where somebody wants to just bring their mobile device to be able to connect to work resources. If they've just gone through the enrollment process we just demoed, you as an IT admin can set a policy that automatically brings VPN, Wi-Fi, certificates, everything pre-configured, so the user right after enrollment is good to go. And we've listed what are the platforms we support. So in terms of VPN profile management, I think there was one glitch there. Android support is not available. We should take that off. So we're working on it, but that's not available in R2. So the other thing we did was we just didn't work with the Microsoft VPN. The majority of the market today, over 80%, is owned by these top 5 VPN vendors. So we partnered with Cisco, Juniper, Dell, who bought SonicWall, then Checkpoint Software, and I think I talked about all of them. F5 Networks in Seattle. So they actually pretty much cover most of it. So if you're an enterprise customer, most likely you're using one of these. But even if not, and you use one of the other 15% solution, then no worries. We still support all the standard PPTP, L2TP, IPv2 protocols. So I think the scenario requires collaboration with your network admin to know what the VPN configuration needs to be so that you can then provision it through Config Manager. The main feature that I want to talk about also is Apple introduced this whole DNS name-based triggering for VPN. So the scenario is, if you have a line of business app that you're launching on your personal device, what it does is it can go and connect directly to the corporate resource because it knows that this app requires data in your corporate network. So instead of you trying to launch the app and it's failing, we detect that that app requires VPN triggering, and then we can connect it to the corporate VPN. So what we did is in Windows 8.1, we announced support for auto triggering capability. So both Windows and iOS now support it. But 8.1 went one step ahead and introduced a feature called app-based triggering. So the DNS triggering would have worked like corp.microsoft.com. It will detect any traffic going there and trigger a VPN. Whereas an app-based triggering is more specific, like only when you launch this specific app, we can detect that app's launched and we can trigger a VPN connection. I believe iOS 7 announcements last couple of weeks back, they also claim support for app-based triggering. So with Wi-Fi, the scenarios are straightforward. You know what your corporate Wi-Fi is. If I keep moving my devices in and out, my laptops, especially for users, between buildings, then I can pre-provision all the different Wi-Fi profiles, and I can add additional security. Like to connect to my corporate Wi-Fi, I need a certificate, and then use that to connect to your Wi-Fi. So when you then say, I have VPN and Wi-Fi, automatically the next thing that comes in is most people use smart card or certificate-based authentication for these. So we now allow you to deploy certificates. So again, I'll show you that. The other thing that was demonstrated in the keynote, if you observed, was a feature called work folders. This allowed you to take your work folder files that are available on-premise, offline to your your personal device. And I believe the support is going to be not just for Windows, but also for iOS devices. So your data can be synchronized with the file server on these personal devices from a work folder perspective. And what we do is Config Manager, we expose some settings where we allow you to configure for the user to be able to discover his work folders. And then the work folder magic that you saw in the keynote demo will happen. So let's get into a demo again. We'll cancel out of this. Now I'm going to go into the asset and compliance node. One of the new features that you would see under compliance settings is called the remote connection profiles. Company resource access. This is where you come in and configure your VPN profiles. So let me go through the wizard and say, here is my Contoso VPN 2. And there is an option to import. Some of these vendors give you a VPN file, so your network admin can directly give the file that you can import to. This works with the Windows 8.1 feature. And here is where we say, here are the different vendors we work with. And we've added some code so that we know all the logic. So like for Microsoft SSL VPN, we need some additional destination traffic. But if it's a Cisco router, you don't need to provide that information. It's dynamically negotiated between the client and the server. So you can choose. So let me go with the Microsoft solution for now. So I can add the IP address for my VPN server. So this is what will get displayed when the user goes. And later this week at the Build conference, when they announce more updates on 8.1, you can actually see the VPN experience in 8.1 is kind of built into Windows. So when you go to the network settings part, like when you go somewhere here, when the list of those networks come up, there is a built-in VPN experience into that as well. So let's do some temporary Oh, I thought I was typing. 168.1.1. So I'm going ahead creating my VPN. Here is where I talked about the different security protocols that you typically will need. Like, do you use simple password or do you use a smart card or certificate? If you do smart card or a certificate, there's very advanced certificate UI that you can use for deployment. So it's pretty comprehensive. So you should work with your network admins, and they should be happy to have an easier way to deploy this. You can choose to have a proxy or not. But the interesting feature I talked about is the VPN on demand. So I can go in and say that any traffic that goes to http corp.contoso.com So this is going to always, you can set some options. Like if you detect any traffic to corp.contoso.com, you can say always require a VPN, which is called like a full tunneling, which means when the user is now connected on a full tunnel, any browsing he does also gets directed through the VPN. But other scenarios could be only established if required or always established. So, okay. I need to give the FQDN name. I thought I did. Okay. Let me cancel out. So there's one more place you set this triggering. So you have the VPN profile there. But the app that we just created, the line of business app, the one with the DT. So here is where you come to the property page of the app. You can see this saying that the app admin knows that this app requires a VPN connection. So this is where they can come and have a checkbox that says this app requires a VPN connection. And if the app's launched, we'll be able to trigger a connection. So that's the VPN part of the demo. So let's look at some of the other things that have come in. The certificate and Wi-Fi. So I have two Wi-Fi profiles. One is for a corporate office and another is for my R&D office. So in my corporate Wi-Fi profile, if you look at it, I'll have the usual things like what is the SSID of the profile. And if you detect that this Contoso Corp SSID, then automatically connect so that user just moves around, it'll automatically pick up the connection and move on. In the security, once again, since it's Corp, I'm just using the basic WPA. But in, say, R&D that requires more security, I would probably have a different configuration that says I need smart card or certificate to be used. So you can have as many similar kind of settings that you want. And here are the platforms that we support this Wi-Fi profile creation. So you can create Wi-Fis on your iPhone, iPads, Android, and Windows 8 devices. So with that, let's look at certificates. So there are two parts to the certificates, because typically certificates require a server-side piece, the server to trust the client and the client to trust the server. So on the one option is I just want to select an adder to a trusted CA. So I can just say my app certificate, in which case I just have to say where's the certificate file I need to import it, and then which store in the certificate store it should go to. We should go to the computer or the user certificate store. And the second part of that certificate profile is being able to create a user certificate, which is because imagine if you have to trust who the user and their device is, you can't create one certificate and deploy it to all users. It has to be unique for each user. So what we do there is integrate with what we call the simple certificate enrollment protocol. I need to give a name. Let's say demo. So what you can do here is provide a whole bunch of settings on the certificate properties, which is again, something in your security team and network team can help you fill this, but you can then deploy these certificates out to your end users. So what it really does is enable your client to talk to your PKI server and negotiate and get a certificate dynamically for that user. So having seen, so what you saw was things that can help your users to be productive right the moment they enroll their mobile device, they get access to the corporate network. So let's look at our traditional other settings that we always had. So I'm going to create a configuration item here called demo CI. Here is where I said there is a separate template for mobile devices. So just like you had Windows settings, you have mobile device settings. I click that and I click next. So you can see all these categories of settings. So I'm going to pick a few of them that I talked about today. So I have the server. In iOS, we introduced like the iCloud, whether you can back up to an iCloud or not. There is device restriction settings, like whether you can use camera and things like that. Of course, password settings are always popular. I'm also going to check this box on all other settings. Okay, so you could see all these things that you need typically for securing a device. Like you have password. I want to make sure my password is minimum at least 5 characters. I can put some device restrictions saying that this particular device, I can not do screen capture on that device. Sorry, it should be disabled. And video chatting is not allowed on that device. So these make total sense for corporate-owned devices. Think of like the pilot in your having an iPad in some scenario, so where you have to really restrict what apps, what settings are there in that device. So this helps you prevent things like data leakage. Like I don't want my corporate data to get just posted in as part of the iCloud backup into a user's personal account. So you can allow or prohibit that. So that will prevent any data from being posted there. The work folder's URL is the one that I have to give a URL to, say, HTTP Contoso file server. So that the client, the work folder client built into 8.1 needs this URL to be able to detect and check which this user's work folder, where is it available in the network, so it can start synchronizing the files between the server and the device. So that is also available. So this is the one I want to also talk about. The additional settings is going to give me all the knobs that we have. We have over 100 plus mobile settings now introduced with this release. So you can look at all the options at your leisure when you get your hands on your bits. But the key thing you'll see is we have the applicability rules directly present in the list. So you can see which platform is this setting applicable on, so you don't have to go look for documentation. So let me check one of that. So allow app installation or allow browser. Let me check that. So the rules that you write are the exact same as what you have done before. So I'm going to say equal to true. So I go next. So here are the, again, applicability platforms. And then it's always confirm, but always check again. So this is the way we do that, because we can say that, hey, you selected some setting. By the way, do you know it's not applicable on these platforms? So we do the analysis based on what you selected and then show that unsupported platforms for the specific setting that I talked about. So cloud backup is not supported on anything but the iPad. So I have got that. So it creates the configuration item. Now I just add the CI into a baseline, which you are very familiar with today for PC management if you use the DCM feature. So again, you saw that we didn't learn anything new for doing mobile settings management. It's all part of the concepts you're so familiar with to know, create CIs, baselines, and then deploy those baselines to your users. So with that, let me switch back to my last demo. So the last one we want to talk about is corporate data protection. This is, again, something we demoed at the keynote because we think it's a very important feature. The reason is people are not happy. I mean, how many times your kids have wiped your device by putting a wrong password on it, right? Those kind of scenarios, how irritated will you be if your IT admin does that to your device? So the selective wipe is the main feature that we allow now through our R2 release, where we can say that on, say, Windows platform, when we do a selective wipe, we'll be able to sorry, I'm talking to this slide, but yeah, we have the full wipe as well. We can wipe the full device if you want. Suppose the employee leaves the company, it's a company-owned device, you have the ability to wipe the full device. But the selective wipe is what we add now new, where what we can do is, these are the different things we can selectively wipe. We can try to remove the email, the apps that we installed on the device, the corporate apps, all the profiles, certificates, everything that we put on the device. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Can you select between corporate email and personal email at the time of wipe?
Yeah, this is, the question was whether I can select and remove only the corporate email and not the personal email. That's our goal with this feature. I mean, but as I said, it's going to be platform dependent, what we can and what can't do. Like I have a table with what you can and can't do, which goes into the detail. But I'll tell you things like email, right? EAS, we wipe only what account we set up. so that way you're not messing up with the other accounts. Only the Exchange account that we set up is what goes away. So for corporate apps, we showed this in the keynote demo. When you remove it, the line of business app is removed completely, uninstalled. In some cases on down level like Windows 8 RT, we keep the app installed, but we remove a side loading key that is needed to launch the app. So the app essentially becomes useless. You cannot launch the app. So VPN, Wi-Fi, all the profiles that we put will get removed. Settings, suppose we set a password policy that says it should be 5 characters long, and then the user leaves the company. We don't want them to be stuck with that 5-character limit. He can choose not to have a password if he wants. So all we do is remove the restriction on policy, but then the user can go and change it to whatever he wants. But we won't reset it back to whatever it was before. And the other interesting scenario we showed was the apps on, say, Windows 8.1 devices. There's a new feature called built by the encryption team that allows the app developer, when they write a modern Windows 8 app, to call those APIs, which means that when we do that app removal, we can also make sure that the data saved by the app is all encrypted. So any data that's left behind in other folders will still continue to be encrypted. And once we do the uninstall, we'll also remove the encryption key so that those files are not accessible by any other means. So it's a good security solution. A lot of companies are trying to deal with this in different ways around how to containerize my personal versus corporate. But ultimately, you need to keep in mind that a majority of the cleanest solution is the OS platform really supporting it. So the iOS and Android and Windows, and Android, I think Samsung's safe-based thing tries to offer that kind of containers. Windows is making a lot of investments in this area as well. So you'll see this scenario improve. And in the mobile era, everything is in months, not years, that you have to wait for things. So I feel like we are at a stage where this feature is really maturing, and by next year, it should be much better. So for the demo for retire and wipe, actually you saw the wipe demo in the keynotes. I'm not going to repeat that. I just want to show where in the UI you do that work. So it's fairly straightforward. You go to the mobile devices in my list. So on any of my devices, I should have the option to do a retire and wipe. Then depending on the platform, we'll enable whether we can do a selective wipe or not. So this is wipe company content, means it is the place where we do a selective wipe. So wherever the platforms we support selective wipe, you'll have that option enabled. So you choose it and say OK on that device. So what it'll do is actually give you a warning that do you want to do this, because when you do this, we're going to remove the record of the device from Config Manager. We're also going to send a push notification to the device saying that we need to start cleaning up the device, removing the certificates, everything from the device. So that's a confirmation you get, and you say yes. Then it takes a while. Within a day, we should get a response back, but we try to do it immediately. But as I said, it depends on the platform. For example, the different platforms, the Apple notification service and other things, we call it by the time it gets to the device and it comes back, the acknowledgement. It could take anywhere from the next second to the next few hours when we get the confirmation back. So those are the scenarios that I wanted to touch upon. Was there a question there? I thought somebody had a question. After the session, thanks. So let me go back to our presentation. So just to do a summary, what we see is the feature set that we have, what you can do, and with unified device management between Config Manager and Intune together helps enterprise customers move the depth of control you have on a device depends on how much the user is interested in accessing different services. If he's completely an unregistered device, they get some benefits. Basically, they can still go through Exchange Active Sync and still get email, but there also you can put security restrictions through how I showed you. The next step is they register with Active Directory, which was the feature they called the workplace join, which means now I can register and create a record for this user, this device in Active Directory. That gives me the next level of access, which is I can get some SharePoint sites, things that my ADFS and file system team has given permissions for. But then you enroll the device into MDM, you get more control, and user also gets more services. They get applications that they can go to the App Store, all the things that we demoed, and you get more control because you can set more granular policies. You can do a whole bunch of things that we showed, selective wipe. Fully managed is our SCCM PC client, like we can do OS deployment and other things. We don't have that capability for mobile devices. Like I cannot go and flash a mobile phone to update to the latest version of the phone. Maybe if that scenario, if there's enough interest, we can look into those scenarios. But currently, you need the full-blown CM agent for those scenarios. So that's what we have as a management stack, that you can see that as a user moves from unregistered all the way to fully managed, IT gets more control, your risk gets less, and end user gets more services. So that's how we try to balance user productivity and IT risk management. So I think that was the last slide I had. So
just to recap, the objective for the session was to give you a quick tour, deep enough to get you interested in trying out the new bits that we have released, and get to basically introduce you all the new functionality that we are providing in order to provide unified device management with Configuration Manager and Intune. So the key takeaway here is Configuration Manager is already there in most of the enterprises. It's the premium Gartner's Magic Quadrant leader solution for PC management. With Windows Intune, you can just extend its reach, have the unified device management, have the single pane of glass for managing both PCs and mobile devices without having to deal with the pain that you have to go through today to manage two separate consoles and infrastructures and management activities. So with that, thank you again for attending this session. I would encourage you to try the new bits out, since I think everybody must be hungry. It's 6 o'clock already, but I'm sure you will be hungry to try the bits also. So please do try them out. Give us your feedback. We are in this constant release cadence right now. Our release cadences have basically gone from 3 years to an year, or a year and a half. So we can take your input and improve our products even further. We want to be the leader, in next couple of years or months into the unified device management space, and your help will be really appreciated. So thanks again for staying till the end. And if you have any questions, we can take them right now.